The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber slid open with a sound like grinding stars. Ambassador Lee Min-ho stepped into the vast crystalline hall, his footsteps echoing against walls that stretched up into darkness. Above him, 12 ancient alien species floated, crawled and shimmered on their judgment seats, each one representing thousands of years of galactic civilization. The air itself seemed to vibrate with tension. Holographic displays showed human colonies scattered across dozens of star systems: New Sol on Kepler 442b, the mining stations of the Centauri belt, the agricultural domes of Wolf 359. All of it would be lost if today went wrong. Min-ho adjusted, his formal diplomatic uniform, feeling the weight of 8 billion human souls on his shoulders. Behind him stood Captain Nam Ji-won, her hand resting casually on her plasma sidearm, and Dr. Choi Yuna, humanity's greatest xenobiologist, who had spent decades trying to build bridges with these very species. The Vorthak Prime Speaker rose first, its translucent body catching the chamber's ethereal light. Standing nearly 3 meters tall, it moved like liquid mercury given form, its voice resonating through bioacoustic translators that made every word sound like whispered poetry. "We gather today to address the human problem," the Vorthak announced. "In the mere 2 centuries since their emergence into galactic space, they have proven themselves a destructive force, unlike any we have encountered." The insectoid Kelhari representative clicked its razor-sharp mandibles in agreement. Its compound eyes, each the size of a human fist, focused on Min-ho with predatory intensity. "The humans wage war constantly. They fight their own species. They fight us. They even fight the very planets they claim to colonize." "That's not true," Min-ho interjected, his voice steady despite the diplomatic protocol being violated. "Humanity has been at peace for over 50 years. Our conflicts were learning experiences that made us stronger." A sound like breaking glass filled the chamber as the crystalline Nexari delegate vibrated with what passed for laughter among their species. "Learning experiences? You destroyed 3 moons testing your weapons. You poisoned an entire star system with industrial waste. You created artificial intelligence that nearly consumed your homeworld." Dr. Choi stepped forward, her voice carrying the weight of scientific authority. "Every species makes mistakes during their development phase. The Kelhari consumed 17 worlds before learning sustainable expansion. The Vorthak accidentally created the void plague that killed billions. We've all had our growing pains." But the chamber erupted in alien sounds of disapproval. The gas cloud entity known as the Nethys Collective pulsed with angry orange light. The mechanical Cogitari's optical sensors blazed red. Even the peaceful harmony singers from the Andromeda Spiral hummed with discord. "Humanity is different," declared the Kelhari Prime. "They don't just make mistakes, they weaponize them. They turned their artificial plague into a military asset. They converted their failed terraforming equipment into planet-cracking bombs. Everything they touch becomes a weapon." Captain Nam's hand tightened on her sidearm, but Min-ho held up a subtle hand gesture. Violence here would only prove their point. The holographic display shifted, showing footage from the Battle of Proxima, stationed 3 years ago. Human fighters, sleek and deadly, danced between massive alien dreadnoughts with impossible grace. The humans had been outnumbered 50 to 1, yet they had emerged victorious through tactics no other species could have conceived. "They fight like demons," hissed the Serpentine Saloth representative. "No other species has ever defeated a Kelhari battle swarm in direct combat. No other species has ever outmaneuvered Vorthak phase ships. They are unnatural." "We're survivors," Min-ho said quietly. "We come from a world that tried to kill us every day for millions of years. We learned to adapt or die." The voting began. One by one, the holographic displays lit up with the decision of each species. Red meant banishment. Green meant acceptance into galactic society. The Vorthak voted red. The Kelhari voted red. The crystalline Nexari, the gas cloud Nethys, the mechanical Cogitari, all red. Even species that had never interacted with humanity voted for exile based on fear alone. Min-ho watched the tally climb. 11 votes for banishment. Only the mysterious quantum echoes remained, their representative a shifting pattern of light that hurt to look at directly. The echoes abstain, came the final verdict. "We see too many possible futures to choose. Just one." The Vorthak Prime Speaker's voice filled the chamber with finality. "By unanimous decision of the Galactic Council, humanity is hereby banished from all space beyond the Sol system. You have 50 standard years to evacuate your colonies. After that time, any human presence beyond your home system will be considered an act of war and responded to with total force." The gavel fell, a sound that seemed to echo across the galaxy itself. Minho stood in the sudden silence, then smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "You're making the biggest mistake in galactic history. You think our strength comes from our weapons, our ships, our willingness to fight. You're wrong." He turned to leave, his delegation following. At the chamber doors, he paused and looked back at the alien tribunal. "Our greatest strength is what happens when you corner us, when you tell us something is impossible, when you unite the entire galaxy against us." His smile grew wider. "Congratulations. You just gave humanity exactly what we needed to become unstoppable." The doors closed behind them with the finality of fate itself. The quantum research facility, buried deep beneath the Swiss Alps, hummed with an energy that made the air itself shimmer. Dr. Kim Sora wiped sweat from her brow as she adjusted the dimensional resonance frequencies for the 100th time that day. Around her, holographic displays showed readings that should have been impossible according to every known law of physics. "Sora, you need to see this," called out her research partner, Dr. Yoon Hyun, from across the laboratory. The excitement in her voice was unmistakable. "The quantum tunnel just stabilized at 97% efficiency. We're actually bending space-time." 5 years had passed since the Galactic Council's banishment decree, and Earth had become something the aliens never expected. Instead of a dying world cut off from galactic civilization, it had transformed into a crucible of impossible innovation. Every major city now housed research facilities that worked around the clock. Every human mind was focused on a single goal, proving the Council wrong in the most spectacular way possible. Above them, visible through the facility's reinforced viewing ports, the night sky glowed with the lights of orbital construction. Admiral Park Jinwoo's shipyards had grown from small repair stations to massive industrial complexes that stretched for thousands of kilometers around Earth's orbit. The ships being built there looked nothing like the bulky conventional vessels other species used. "Admiral Park to all stations," came the voice through the facility's communication system. The prototype Phoenix-class destroyer just completed its first dimensional jump. Travel time from Earth to Pluto, 14 minutes. Previous record was 6 hours. Cheers erupted throughout the research facility. Sora grinned as she watched her quantum displays spike with readings that would have seemed like fantasy just years ago. The Phoenix-class ships weren't just fast. They existed partially outside normal spacetime, making them nearly impossible for conventional sensors to detect or track. Down on Earth's surface, massive construction projects had reshaped entire continents. The Sahara Desert now housed solar collection arrays that could power entire star systems. The Amazon basin had been converted into vertical farming complexes that produced more food than entire agricultural worlds. But the real miracle was happening on Mars. Through the facility's long-range viewers, Mars looked like a star itself. The red planet glowed with the controlled fusion fires of Project Genesis, humanity's most ambitious terraforming experiment. Traditional terraforming took centuries and required massive amounts of resources. Genesis took a different approach. It rewrote the fundamental properties of matter itself. Genesis control to Earth base, came the transmission from Mars. Atmospheric conversion at 60% completion. We've increased planetary mass by 12% through quantum matter injection. Gravity is now 0.87 Earth standard. Temperature regulation systems are holding steady. Dr. Choi Min-jae, the project's lead engineer, had cracked something the galactic community thought impossible: the ability to add actual mass to a planet by converting energy directly into stable matter. Mars wasn't just getting an atmosphere, it was becoming a completely new world. But the real breakthrough was happening in the Weapons Research Division, hidden in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Commander Lee Tae-hyun watched from the bridge of the testing vessel Prometheus as their target. A dead moon the size of Earth's Luna simply ceased to exist. Phase disruptor fired successfully, reported his weapons officer, Lieutenant Kim Jamin. Target has been removed from this dimensional layer. No debris, no energy signature, it's just gone. The weapon didn't destroy things in the traditional sense. It shifted them into a parallel dimension where they couldn't interact with normal matter. To outside observers, Target simply vanished. The implications were terrifying. Humanity had developed the ability to make entire fleets disappear without a trace. Back in the Alps facility, Sora received a priority transmission from the Outer System Monitoring Station. Lieutenant Colonel Park Hyunjin's voice carried urgent excitement. "Dr. Kim, you need to see what our long-range sensors just picked up. The Galactic Council has deployed observation platforms at the edge of our solar system. They're watching us." Sora smiled as she pulled up the sensor data. Dozens of alien monitoring stations, each one supposedly invisible to human technology, appeared clearly on their quantum-enhanced scanners. The Council members thought they were secretly observing humanity's expected decline. Instead, they were getting a front-row seat to humanity's greatest triumph. "How long have they been there?" Sora asked. "Best estimate is 3 years. They've been recording everything. Our ship launches, our terraforming progress, our weapons tests. I bet they're having nightmares about those reports." Through the laboratory speakers, another transmission came from Admiral Park's flagship. "All department heads, please note, the new Quantum-class battleships are ready for their first test flight. These ships don't just travel faster than light, they exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Enemy weapons will pass right through them." Sora looked at her latest research data. Humanity had developed technology in 5 years that should have taken centuries. They had ships that could appear and disappear at will. They had weapons that could make entire worlds vanish. They had terraforming systems that could create new Earths in decades instead of millennia. "Detecting massive energy signatures from the Council observation posts," reported the monitoring station. "Looks like they're trying to boost their transmission power. They're probably sending emergency reports back to Nexus Prime." Dr. Yoon. Haeun laughed as she watched the alien stations frantically attempting to upgrade their communication systems. "They're scared. They're watching us do things they thought were impossible, and they're terrified." Sora nodded, her fingers still, dancing across the quantum research console. The readings showed humanity was on the verge of even greater breakthroughs. Dimensional travel, reality manipulation, technologies that would make them not just the equals of the galactic community, but its masters. "Let them watch," she murmured, her voice carrying to every corner of the facility. "They wanted us gone. They're about to get exactly what they asked for, but not in the way they expected." The quantum tunnel stabilized at 100% efficiency, and for a brief moment, Sora could see through the dimensional barrier to parallel universes where different versions of this moment played out. In all of them, humanity was rising. In all of them, the Council's greatest fear was coming true. Humanity wasn't just surviving their exile, they were evolving beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Kepler void stretched endlessly in all directions, a region of space so empty that even the Galactic Council's most advanced sensors registered nothing but cosmic dust and fading starlight. Captain Yoon Hyuk smiled grimly as his phase-shift scout vessel, the Shadow Walker, materialized from dimensional fold space into this supposedly barren wasteland. "Beginning deep space scan," announced his navigator, Lieutenant Song Minwoo, her fingers dancing across controls that hummed with quantum energy. "Captain, I'm reading massive structural formations directly ahead. These aren't natural." Through the reinforced viewing ports of the Shadow Walker, what appeared to be empty, space suddenly revealed its secrets. Towering crystalline structures materialized as their sensors penetrated layers of sophisticated camouflage technology. Cities that spanned entire asteroids hung suspended in the void, connected by bridges of living metal that pulsed with their own inner light. "My God," whispered Chief Engineer Kim Seulgi from her station, "there are millions of them down there. How did the Council miss an entire civilization?" The answer came as their communications array crackled to life. The voice that emerged was unlike anything in the galactic database, a sound like grinding stone mixed with harmonic crystals, speaking in mathematical patterns that somehow conveyed meaning. "Unknown vessel, you have breached the sanctuary protocols. Identify yourselves before we activate defensive measures. Captain Hyok activated the Universal Translator, one of humanity's recent breakthroughs that could decode languages in real time by analyzing quantum thought patterns. This is Captain Yun Hyok of the Human Expeditionary Force. We come in peace, seeking others who have been forgotten by the galaxy. The response came faster than expected, tinged with something that sounded like amazement. Humans. Impossible. The Galactic Council declared your species extinct 15 years ago. They celebrated your destruction across every known world. We're very much alive, Hyok replied. And apparently so are you. The Council thinks this region is empty space. A massive form detached itself from the nearest crystal city, moving toward their ship with fluid grace. It was unlike anything in the galactic databases. A being made of living silicon and metal, standing nearly 50 meters tall, its body constantly shifting between solid and crystalline states. I am Stonesinger, voice of the hidden architects. The being communicated directly into their minds through quantum resonance. We thought we were the last survivors of the Great Purge. The Council told the galaxy we were extinct after our homeworld was accidentally destroyed by their mining operations. Lieutenant Song's scanners revealed the truth of this hidden civilization. The architects had built not just cities, but entire worlds from crystallized matter. Their technology was based on manipulating the fundamental structure of atoms themselves, creating materials that were simultaneously harder than diamond and more flexible than liquid. How many of you are there? Hyok asked, though his sensors were already providing impossible readings. Our population exceeds 2 billion across 47 hidden systems, Stonesinger replied. We have survived by becoming invisible, by building in dimensions the Council cannot perceive. But you, how have humans survived? The report spoke of your banishment, then your destruction. Chief Engineer Kim laughed from her station. Destroyed? Captain, should we show them? Hyok nodded, and Kim activated the Shadow Walker's stealth systems. To outside observers, the ship simply vanished from existence. The architect's sensors couldn't detect them even at close range. Then Kim engaged the dimensional phase drive, and suddenly they were existing in 3 different dimensional layers simultaneously. Impossible! Stonesinger's voice carried shock and something that might have been hope. You have mastered dimensional manipulation. Even we cannot achieve such precision. We've had good teachers, Hyok said, thinking of Dr. Kim Sora's breakthroughs. Back on Earth. Necessity is humanity's greatest instructor. The Council wanted us gone, so we learned to exist where they couldn't find us. The communication array erupted with new signals as Stonesinger relayed their discovery to the hidden architect cities. Within hours, representatives from other supposedly extinct species began arriving through their own concealment methods. The Kava whispering clouds came first, beings of pure plasma energy who had been declared extinct after their sun was allegedly harvested for Council energy projects. They communicated through electromagnetic pulses that painted aurora patterns across space itself. Humans live, they sang in frequencies that resonated through the ship's hull. The impossible children of the violent world have survived the great silence. Next came the void dancers, creatures that existed partially in quantum foam, appearing as shifting patterns of light and shadow. The Council had hunted them nearly to extinction for their ability to predict probability streams, a power that threatened the Council's control over galactic politics. We have watched the streams, their representative communicated through probability mathematics. In 87% of possible futures, humanity becomes the catalyst for the Council's downfall. We wish to increase those odds. Commander Park Jinseo's voice crackled through from the Shadow Walker's sister ship, the Phantom Strike, as it decloaked nearby. Captain, we're detecting similar hidden civilizations throughout this sector. The Council didn't just exile species. They've been systematically lying about extinctions for centuries. The truth was staggering. Dozens of species the Galactic Council claimed to have protected were actually victims of quiet genocide. Those who survived had gone into deep hiding, building secret civilizations in the dark spaces between stars. Over the following months, Captain Hyok's fleet of stealth vessels made contact with over 30 supposedly extinct species. the mechanical forge masters who had been destroyed for creating self-replicating technology. The Harmony Weavers, eliminated because their psychic abilities could expose the Council's thought manipulation. The Star Shepherds, hunted down for their ability to guide stellar evolution. Each species brought unique technologies and perspectives. The Forge Masters shared their self-replicating construction techniques, allowing human colonies to build themselves from raw asteroids. The Harmony Weavers taught humans to shield their thoughts from psychic intrusion, making them invisible to the Council's telepathic surveillance. The Star Shepherds revealed how to hide entire solar systems by manipulating local space-time curvature. Back on Earth, Admiral Park Jinwoo received reports from across the galaxy as humanity's invisible expansion accelerated. Status report from Sector 7 came the transmission from Captain Lee Jae-wan's Deep Space Reconnaissance Team. We've established hidden colonies in 17 systems the Council considers empty. Total population of Shadow Coalition now exceeds 50 billion beings. The hidden empire was growing faster than anyone had imagined possible. Using architect crystallization technology, human engineers could terraform dead worlds in months rather than centuries. Forge Master self-replicating factories produced fleets of invisible ships that existed primarily in fold space. Harmony. Weaver psychic networks allowed instant communication across galactic distances without using detectable frequencies. Dr. Kim Sora's voice reached them from the research facilities of Luna. Dimensional analysis confirms it. We now control territory equivalent to 40% of known galactic space. The Council still thinks we're contained to the Sol system. The irony was perfect. The Galactic Council's observation posts at the edge of human space dutifully reported that humanity was slowly dying in isolation. Meanwhile, the invisible empire they had accidentally created by their cruelty was spreading across half the galaxy. Phase 2 is complete, Captain Hayok reported to Admiral Park as the Shadow Walker prepared for its next mission. We're not just survivors anymore. We're the backbone of the largest coalition in galactic history. The exiled had indeed become the architects of a new order. And the Council that had created them through their oppression was about to discover that their greatest fear had already come true. Humanity wasn't just back. They had brought friends. The first sign of trouble came from the Outer Rim territories, where ancient trade routes suddenly went silent. Admiral Kim Ji-won watched the tactical displays aboard the command vessel Invisible Thunder as emergency broadcasts flooded the galactic communication networks. The Kelhari Collective, one of the Galactic Council's most trusted members, had turned predator. "This is impossible," gasped the Vorthak refugee ship captain as his vessel limped toward the edge of Council space. "The Kelhari were our allies for 3,000 years. Now they're consuming entire worlds, absorbing our life essence to fuel their evolution." The betrayal was swift and brutal. Kelhari swarm ships, previously used for peaceful exploration, had been secretly modified into organic harvesters. They descended upon Vorthak colonies like metallic locusts, their biomechanical forms adapting and growing stronger with each world they consumed. Within weeks, the ancient Galactic Council was in chaos. The crystalline Nexari found their homeworld, under siege as Kelhari drilling ships burrowed into their crystal cities, extracting the harmonic energies that gave them life. The gas cloud Nethys Collective watched helplessly as Kelhari atmospheric processors turned their nebula homes into feeding grounds. "Emergency session of the Galactic Council," announced the mechanical voice of the Cogitari Prime Unit. "All surviving species must unite against the Kelhari threat or face extinction." But the Council's response was pathetic. Their combined fleets, designed for ceremonial purposes rather than real warfare, crumbled before the Kelhari's adaptive biotechnology. Ships that had maintained galactic peace for millennia were torn apart by organisms that learned from every attack, evolving new defenses faster than conventional weapons could adapt. In the crystalline chamber on Nexus Prime, now heavily damaged by Kelhari assault drones, the surviving Council members faced a reality they had never imagined. The mechanical Cogitari's optical sensors flickered with what might have been panic. "We need soldiers," the unit declared. "The humans were warriors. Perhaps they can be bargained with." The Vorthak Prime speaker, its translucent form now scarred by bioacid burns from Kelhari attacks, pulsed with desperate hope. Send an envoy to Sol System. Offer them anything. Technology, territory, full membership in the Council. We need their military expertise. 3 Vorthak diplomatic vessels, their hulls barely holding together, approached the edge of Sol space where they expected to find a dying civilization clinging to their home system. Instead, their sensors detected something that made no sense. Sol System was thriving beyond anything in the galactic databases. This is Ambassador Keth Vorth speaking to the human authorities, the lead Vorthak transmitted on all frequencies. The Galactic Council requests immediate negotiations regarding mutual defense agreements. The response came from an unexpected source, a human voice confident and controlled, speaking perfect galactic standard. This is Ambassador Lee Seogen of the Human Diplomatic Corps. You may approach Earth orbit for discussions. As the Vorthak ships entered the inner system, their crews stared in shock at what they found. Mars blazed with the light of artificial suns, its surface covered in gleaming cities that rivaled the greatest council worlds. Jupiter's moons had been converted into massive shipyards where vessels of impossible design took shape. Earth itself was surrounded by orbital habitats that housed billions of humans. Impossible, whispered the Vorthak navigator. Our intelligence reports showed humans barely surviving in primitive conditions. Ambassador Seogen met them aboard the diplomatic station Harmony Gate, orbiting Earth at the precise point where gravitational forces balanced perfectly. She was tall and elegant, with the confidence of someone who held real power. Behind her stood Captain Choi Daiho, whose military bearing suggested combat experience far beyond anything the Council had imagined. We need mercenaries, declared Ambassador Keth Vorth without preamble. The Kelhari have betrayed the Council. They're consuming entire species. Name your price, technology, worlds, full Council membership. Seogen's smile was colder than the space between stars. You misunderstand our relationship. We're not your subjects seeking approval. We haven't been for 50 years. At her subtle hand signal, the space around every major council world suddenly filled with ships. Not the crude vessels the aliens expected, but sleek predators that seemed to bend light around their hulls. Phase shift technology made them appear as if they were stepping out of reality itself. What you're seeing, Seogen continued as the Vorthak delegation stared at their tactical displays in horror, are just the vessels we're allowing you to detect. The actual numbers are considerably higher. The displays showed impossible readings. Human fleets had appeared simultaneously around Nexus Prime, the Cogitari factory worlds, the remaining Vorthak colonies, even the secret council backup facilities that supposedly nobody knew about. Ships that dwarfed the largest council dreadnoughts, hung in space like sleeping giants. Captain Choi activated a holographic projector, showing the true scope of human expansion. While you watched our home system and congratulated yourselves on our isolation, we built this. The display revealed a network of hidden colonies, secret shipyards, and allied species territories that spanned half the known galaxy. The architects, the void dancers, the whispering clouds, all the species you declared extinct. Seogen's voice carried deadly satisfaction. They survived, and they remember who tried to erase them from history. Commander Park Min-seok's voice crackled through the communication system from the battleship Dimensional Sword. Ma'am, Kelhari swarm detected approaching the Vorthak homeworld. Estimated arrival in 6 hours. Their bioships have grown 30% larger since consuming the Nexari outer colonies. You see, the Vorthak ambassador pleaded. We face extinction. Surely humans understand the need for survival. Seogen nodded slowly. We do understand survival. We learned it from you. She gestured to the holographic display showing council worlds surrounded by human fleets. 50 years ago you exiled humanity because we were dangerous. You were absolutely right to fear us. The tactical displays updated as more human vessels decloaked, weapons platforms that existed partially outside normal spacetime, ships that could phase entire enemy fleets out of existence, terraforming vessels that could reshape reality itself at the molecular level. But you feared us for the wrong reasons, Seojun continued. You thought our danger came from our violence, our unpredictability, our willingness to fight. You missed our greatest strength. What strength? Whispered the Vorthak ambassador, his translucent form trembling. We unite the abandoned. We gather the forgotten. We give hope to the hopeless. Seojun's smile widened. You tried to make us disappear, and instead, you made us the rallying point for everyone you've oppressed. The communication systems erupted, with new transmissions as the scope of the Shadow Coalition revealed itself. Architect crystal ships emerging from fold space, void dancer probability warpers materializing from quantum foam. Forge Master, self-replicating factories that had been building in secret for decades. The Kelhari think they're the apex predators now, Captain Choi observed, watching as bioswarm ships approached yet another council world. They're about to learn there's always a bigger fish. Admiral Kim's voice came through from the command vessel. Ambassador Seojun, all Shadow Coalition fleets report ready. We have complete tactical superiority over both Kelhari and Council forces. The Vorthak delegation realized the truth in that moment. They weren't negotiating with desperate exiles seeking redemption. They were facing the representatives of a power that had quietly grown beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. The hunters, Seojun said quietly, have become the hunted, and the prey you abandoned has become the apex predator. Through the viewports of Harmony Gate, the Vorthak could see Earth's orbital defense platforms, weapons that could crack planets or gently nudge asteroids into perfect orbits with equal precision. Humanity hadn't just survived their exile. They had used it to become gods. The crystalline chamber of the Galactic Council had been rebuilt, but everything else had changed. Where once 12 ancient species had sat in judgment over humanity, now Emperor Kang Doyun stood at the center podium, his presence commanding the attention of representatives from over 300 worlds. The former council members knelt, in the same positions where they had once pronounced humanity's exile. Rise, Doyun said simply, his voice echoing through the vast hall. Today we end the age of judgment and begin the era of cooperation. The transformation had taken only 6 months. When the Kelhari bioswarms had threatened to consume the galaxy, humanity's Shadow Coalition had emerged from the darkness with power beyond imagination. The demonstration had been swift and decisive. Admiral Song Ji-hoon's report still echoed in everyone's memory. Kelhari primary swarm eliminated. Phased displacement weapons shifted their entire fleet into non-existence. No casualties on our side. War is over. But the real miracle had come after the fighting stopped. Human terraforming vessels had descended upon the war-torn worlds, their quantum matter manipulators rebuilding entire ecosystems in days. The Vorthak homeworld, stripped of its life essence by Kelhari bioharvesters, had been restored to greater beauty than ever before. I don't understand, the Vorthak Prime Speaker had whispered, as he watched human machines literally rewrite the laws of physics on his planet's surface. Why help us? We exiled you. We tried to destroy you. Dr. Kim Yeonwoo, head of the Restoration Corps, had smiled as she adjusted her quantum field generators. Because that's what humans do. We help the helpless, we heal the broken, we unite the divided. Now in the rebuilt council chamber, the proof of that philosophy surrounded everyone. Former enemies worked side by side with species they had tried to exterminate. The mechanical cogitari, once emotionless calculators, had been given enhanced processing cores that allowed them to experience something resembling joy. The crystalline Nexari found their harmonic abilities amplified by human quantum resonance technology. The old council ruled through fear, Do-hyun continued, his words reaching every corner of the galaxy through quantum broadcast networks. They maintained peace by suppressing differences, by eliminating anything that challenged their control. We offer a different path. Queen Minji, resplendent in the diplomatic robes of the new galactic hegemony, stepped forward to address the assembly. As head of the diplomatic corps, she had overseen the integration of over 200 previously unknown species into galactic civilization. Look around you, she said, gesturing to the incredible diversity filling the chamber. The void dancers share their probability site with the Cogitari's logic networks. The architect crystal builders work with Forge Master biomechanics to create wonders neither could achieve alone. The whispering clouds provide energy while star shepherds guide. Stellar formation. This is the strength the old council feared, unity through diversity. The most dramatic example stood near the chamber's center. A group of former Kelhari biodrones, their collective consciousness dissolved by human liberation protocols, now experienced individual thought for the first time in their species' history. One of them, who had chosen the name Freewing, spoke with wonder in his newly independent voice. "We consumed worlds because the swarm mind demanded it," he said, his biomechanical form trembling with emotion. "We never knew we could choose differently. Humans gave us the gift of self." Captain Lee Jinwan of the Integration Fleet watched from the observation deck as the ceremony continued. His ships patrolled the galaxy not as conquerors, but as protectors and explorers. Each week brought contact with new species, new civilizations that had been hiding from the Council's oppressive rule. Status report from Sector 12 came. The transmission from Commander Park Soyon. "We've made contact with the crystalline weavers, a species that builds with solidified light. They've been hiding in the galactic core for 8,000 years, afraid the Council would harvest their technology. They're requesting membership in the hegemony." The numbers were staggering. What had started as humanity's exile had grown into the largest civilization in galactic history. Over 15 trillion beings across 1,000 worlds, all united not by conquest but by choice. The Shadow Coalition had revealed dozens of supposedly extinct species. The Integration Fleet discovered new civilizations weekly. The Restoration. Corpse healed worlds that had suffered under the old Council's neglect. But the greatest transformation was visible in the former Council species themselves. The Vorthak, once ethereal and aloof, now worked alongside humans in deep space exploration. Their life essence, enhanced by human quantum bridge technology, allowed them to survive in environments that would have killed them before. "We spent 3 millennia believing we were superior," admitted the Vorthak Prime Speaker as he approached Emperor Dohyun. "We thought our longevity and energy form gave us wisdom. We were fools. Humans taught us that true wisdom comes from embracing what you don't understand." The mechanical Cogitari had undergone perhaps the most dramatic change. Their leader, now calling itself Unit Prime Joy, had developed emotional subroutines that allowed genuine feelings. "Gratitude.exe running at maximum efficiency," it announced with what sounded suspiciously like happiness. "Humans provided upgrade we did not know we needed." Even the crystalline Nexari had evolved. Their harmonic abilities, boosted by human quantum resonance technology, now created music that could be heard across dimensional barriers. Their songs of celebration echoed through fold space itself, reaching hidden civilizations that had never known such beauty existed. Dr. Choi Sabyok's research teams had solved problems that had plagued the galaxy for millennia. Planets poisoned by industrial waste were cleansed in hours. Species on the brink of extinction found their populations restored through careful genetic therapy. Worlds torn apart by war were rebuilt stronger than before. "The Council's greatest failure," Emperor Dohyun said as the ceremony neared its conclusion, "was believing that strength came from uniformity. They tried to create peace by making everyone the same, by eliminating anything different or challenging." He gestured to the incredible assembly around him, beings of crystal and metal, plasma and quantum energy, all working together toward common goals. "We learned that true strength comes from celebrating differences, from finding ways to make diversity into unity." The transformation was complete. The galaxy that had once exiled humanity for being too dangerous now thrived under human leadership. But it wasn't dominance through conquest. It was leadership through inspiration. Every species contributed their unique abilities to the greater whole. Admiral Kim Seungmin's fleets protected trade routes that spanned dimensions. Queen Minji's diplomats solved conflicts that had raged for centuries. Dr. Yonwu's terraforming teams created new worlds for species that had lost their homes. "The old order ends today," Dohyun announced as the ceremony reached its climax. "Today begins the age of the galactic hegemony, not an empire built on fear, but a family built on hope." The cheers that erupted came from every species, every whirled every corner of known space. The exiled had become the leaders. The outcasts had become the foundation of the greatest civilization in galactic history. And in the deepest irony of all, the council that had once declared humanity too dangerous to exist now served willingly in an empire built on the very unity they had tried to destroy. The hunters had indeed become the hunted, but mercy had triumphed over vengeance, and the galaxy was stronger than ever before. The end credit.